Don't let anybody push you into guilt. Be comfortable with what you're doing. Budget for your extended family. And you shouldn't be supporting anyone in your extended family continuously. But I want to assure you that some of the things that I'm going to share are going to be useful. And I want to say that if you find them useful, if you find the points I make useful, you can just watch for 5 minutes, 10 minutes and see if it's useful. And if it's useful to you, do share it, create a watch party, call people in. Bless you, Eric. Call people in to watch, to share. And I want to say that the topic I'm handling today is things I want to share about money. And I'm not a money expert, but there are certain experiences I have, certain experiences I've talked about with friends of mine that I want to share. Some of those experiences, I shared them in my latest book, If I Were to Live Again. If you still don't have this book, then you should get it on Amazon. It's just $1 on Amazon, the Kindle version, that is. So you should get a copy. So I proceed. You see, like I said, I'm not an expert on finances, and these points are basically from my personal experiences, from things I have encountered with people, from encounters I've had in my life. And I want to just share them with you. I think they'll be useful to you. And I want to assure you that whether you're watching this video live or otherwise, do well to make your contributions, ask a few questions, and if I have the answers, I'll share with you. I also make a few references to books I've read or people who have also influenced me in that area. I want to say that the point of the talk tonight is not about becoming a billionaire. It's not. It's about having enough wisdom to handle what God has given to you already. Do you know that in a lot of cases, when we are making a prayer, God has already prepared the answer beforehand. He has already made the answer available, but we are unable to see. It's like the story of the person who was drowning in the sea. He's asking God to help him. A helicopter comes. He says, "Oh God, I'm waiting for God." Some diver comes. He says, "I'm waiting for God." Meanwhile, God is answering, and we're not seeing the answer. Some of the things I'll share with you today. The first point I would like to make is that money is very, very important. You see, when we were young and we had to live off our parents, we were zealous about the faith and all that, and we would say things like, purpose, vision, certain terminologies that sound Christianese, that try to, separate us from the reality that the very reason that we can come every day and sit at a dining table like this and eat is because somebody has money. A lot of things, we get it for free. It's free to us, but somebody paid for it. So you find out that everything in this world rolls on money. Money is not important by itself just because of the paper money. There's no in the fiat money we have these days, there's no actual intrinsic value of the money itself. But the point is, it represents value. Every time somebody goes to work for a month and he is given an amount of money, what is happening is that he has exchanged his strength, whether it is physical strength, intellectual strength, for that amount of money. So money represents value. Money is extremely important. Those of us who are Christians, those of us who are young, we must understand that money is extremely important in this world we are in. How the wise man Solomon expressed it was to say that money answereth all things. What it means is that in this context, in the context of this world, money is extremely important. Vision is important, purpose is important, but we must understand that there is the engine that drives things in this world is that facility, that phenomenon that we use to represent value, which is money. There are many forms of it, but the point is it represents value. It represents a way to exchange value. So we must be cognizant of its importance early enough in life. We must realize the importance of money. Let me tell you a little story that backs that up. You see, when I was younger, sometimes there are friends that will tell you, that, oh, there are many, maybe when I first got a job, some of us were very zealous about entrepreneurship, and they will tell you things like, oh, there are many things you can do to make money, you have to pursue vision, don't let an employer tie you down, all those kind of things. But what I realized was, after a while, they come back to me, or come back to somebody who has a regular job. Now, they come back to those who are doing the regular jobs to ask for support for their vision. What is happening is that the truth is, no matter how beautiful your vision is, you need some kind of way of supporting it. So you see that there is that importance of money there. Number one, recognize that money is an important aspect of our lives on this planet. Number two, money can be made available to you in 3 ways. I will just mention 3 ways. There could be many other ways which this can happen. Maybe many variants of these 3 ways. But the 3 ways I have is, number one, you could steal it. And there are many people that are millionaires now because they stole money. So that's why I said that money in itself is not something that we should give the kind of enthronement that some people have given it. Because somebody can easily get money by stealing, and stealing can be very easy in a lot of parts of the world. Money, what do you call it? It's easy to steal, to get it, to amass it by doing something wrong, and you get it, and people will hail you. Maybe you will even get a chieftain's title. So you can steal money. Number two, you can receive it freely. Somebody decides to dash you something. Somebody decides to give you free of charge. Gives you the money free of charge. I mean, you don't do anything to deserve it. You just go about asking people, oh, I need this, oh, this is happening to me. And there are a lot of people who are good at that. They are so good at begging that they can be better off than the people who are giving them money, because they are able to convince 10 people, to give them money. If I can convince 10 people to give me $200, for example, that is $2,000. That's probably higher than the salary of each one of the people that gave me the money. So you see that begging can be quite lucrative. Some people get money by begging, by receiving it free of charge. But what brings us to terms with the real nature of money is that we get it for delivering value. We get money the real way, the correct way, the absolute way we should be targeting to get money is by delivering something valuable. When we're delivering something valuable and somebody gives us money in exchange for it, we recognize the importance of that money. Whether we are working for someone, we are doing our business, we are selling something, when we get money in exchange for delivering value, we actually come to terms with the importance of money. That was number 3. Money is available to you in 3 ways, but the key way is, that was number 2, sorry. The key way is what? By your delivery of value. Now, number 3, one of the things, by the time you begin to realize that money is important, number 1. Number 2, you get money for delivering value. Money is exchanged to you or given to you because you are able to do something valuable to someone. You don't let it go so easily. Value money to the extent that you don't let it go too easily. Don't let money go too easily. Don't let people fool you easily to part with your money. Don't let people sell things to you that you don't really need. This happens to a lot of people in, for example, the banking sector or environments where somebody brings things to you that you never plan to buy. When they bring it to you, because your money is freely available, you are able to part with the money very easily. Don't do that. Let your spending be planned, because the way you earn that money was by exchanging something valuable from your person. Let your spending be planned. If you can avoid it, avoid buying things in traffic. Let your release of money be calculated. Calculate your release, even if it's small amounts. Even if you're releasing small amount, calculate it. Some of these tips are from a man called Dave Ramsey that I learned from as well. Calculate. In fact, Dave Ramsey says that if you can do without using a card, do without it. It's not easy, so easy for some of us who do a lot of things online. But what the point is, the underlying principle is understand the value of money to the point where you are deliberate about spending it. That was number 3, I believe. Number 4. One of the key things about knowing the value of money is to be able to know when to loan money and when not to loan money. Like I said before, there are people who are very good at asking others for money. Some of them ask others for money in terms of a dash. Some ask others for money in terms of a loan. And I want to say in this point, do not ever give up money or give money as a loan that you cannot lose. It damages relationships. If somebody is asking, have a budget for your charity. There's a charity budget. There's a budget that says, okay, this is the amount of money I'm going to give to people who want my help. It's not sinful to do that. If somebody needs your help, you should keep him within the budget. You have an amount of money. This is the amount I have for giving as loans. This is the amount I have for giving as gifts. Because when you give that loan, you should be able to give that loan in such a way that you are at peace with yourself. You don't have to go chasing the person over and over to give you back your money. If you have to do that, it puts a strain on the relationship. You see, what happens is that when somebody borrows money from you, every time you call him, even if you're just like this is COVID-19 period, if somebody owes you this period and you want to check on him, you want to find out how is he doing, whether he is, keeping safe. The moment he sees your call, the memory of his memory is jolted. He remembers that he owes you. You shouldn't create, circumstances like that where your relationships are strained by loans, strained by debt. If you need to give away money, let it be money that you are willing to part with. Oh, I can give only $10. I can give only $50. I can give only $20. Be able to loan money that you are willing to part with. Number 5, you as a person avoid loans. Do everything you can to live life without borrowing, even if it looks like a cheap loan. Do everything you can to live without borrowing. Do everything you can to live without borrowing. A lot of times banks come to us with juicy offers. When it comes to borrowing, let's say to start a business and it's a big amount of money or for a mortgage, you can calculate probably and know that if I borrow this money, I will be able to generate twice this value in the business I'm going to use it for. If I borrow this money, I'll be able to refund the money with a profit over this amount of time. But if you're borrowing merely to meet an urgent need, you're going to put yourself in a vicious cycle. You're going to discover that borrowing or that quick fix to your problem is not as cheap as you thought. If you can do it, do your best to start living without borrowing, without spending beyond what you are earning. There are periods in your life where you'll be earning a lot of money. That is the opportunity that God is giving to you to prepare for the future. So it's important that you find a way to retrieve that money if you can, but don't let it become a fight. So that's why, in order to even prevent yourself from getting to that point, from you having a situation where you lose money to this friend, you lose money to another, you lose money to another, and by the time you calculate all your losses, you find out that a lot of people are owing you. It's turned to bad debts, and you're not a banker, so you don't even have risk appetite for that. So it is better to now budget your loan, the loans you're giving out, to the measure that you can afford to dash the person, so to speak, to let the person go as a friend for free. Let it be clear to your friends that, look, I cannot give you as a loan this amount of money, because if you want this amount of money, go to the savings and loans guys. And to be clear that that is your principle. That way you preserve the relationship. Some people say, oh, you have to borrow to start a business. That's great. But make sure it's for a business, and make sure your business can, reproduce the money that you are borrowing. Borrowing is not as cheap as you think. Don't borrow to look good. Don't borrow to buy liabilities. I was telling the story of the fact that a lot of times in our lives, over a period, God prepares us for the time we need money. For example, if you have been working for 10 years, maybe God has been giving you all the money you need to start your own business, but you haven't spent it wisely, you haven't invested it, you haven't saved it up. So when it's time for you to start your business, you now find that you need to borrow. It becomes a problem. You now go into debt. It's possible that God has all the while been preparing you for that big amount of money you need to spend. You need to be aware of that. That is what happened in the case of Joseph. Joseph's interpretation of Pharaoh's dream was that the first 7 years of plenty, part of it, 20% of it, was supposed to be used to prepare for the 7 years of drought. When we fail to prepare in the years of plenty for the years of drought, what happens is that we find ourselves. I think that for some people, that may be the case right now in the midst of this crisis with the pandemic. We find out that God has been giving us opportunities to prepare for the trouble. We don't know that the trouble is coming, but He knows. So He keeps giving us opportunities to prepare for the trouble that is coming. And when the trouble finally comes, we find that we are not prepared because we have not made wise use of the opportunities that God has been giving us over the years. We find ourselves that we respond to people in a way, and they begin to feel that we don't have plans for our own money. So they are the only one who have plans. So they come to you, they tell you, I have this business I want to do. Then, okay, can you give me this amount? I'll pay you back after the business booms. Then somebody else comes, I have this business I want to do. You see, when that keeps happening, what it is telling you is that the perception people have of you, the perception they have of you is that you don't have a plan for your own money. You get that? They have the perception that you don't have a plan for your money. So don't give that perception. Have a plan for your own money, and let your plan include what you are going to willingly be able to give out. It doesn't mean don't help people. Be able to loan it out and be able to say, if this loan does not come back, I'm okay. That's what I'm trying to push to you. So that's very important. So we'll come back to that maybe in the questions section. But as I was saying about borrowing yourself, avoid it if you can. Use the time that God has, the periods of time that God has given you to actually, use that time to prepare for the rainy day. All the time, all the period, all the good years, just like Joseph did. All the good years of your life that God has given you, use it to prepare for trouble. Try not to depend on the possibility of loans. All right, then we'll talk about risks, number 6. A lot of times people, great. I like that point, Eben. Eben has made a good point. He said it is not advisable to start a new business with a bank loan, especially if you are about now to look for customers' product. Perfect. It's not advisable to do that. That's true. Especially in our part of the world, the interest rates are severe. It can be severe in some countries. So it's not advisable. At the same time, you don't, what I'm even talking about now is if you can, on the part of you loaning money, there are organizations or small savings and loans that have probably better interest rates, or if you find a way to start that business, to do a start small, think big approach, do that. I'm just saying that don't, first of all, one, let you as yourself, if you want to loan money, let it be something you can comfortably do without, because you can never predict the outcome of that business, and you can never tell, and you will not be able to do much if your friend fails you. He's your friend. So keep yourself safe and keep the relationship safe. Then on the part of you going to borrow money, now in certain cases, instead of calling it a loan and you're sure of what you're doing, document the business properly and do equity. Tell the people, oh, I have this business idea, this is how it's going to work, I want you to put money in it, these are the papers, you'll be a shareholder here, it's registered, we have a lawyer, we have insurance and all that. We have all the things that make for a proper company, so that when they invest in the company, they know they have equity in the company, and you can be sure that if anything happens, at least it was something clear. It doesn't put a string, because everybody knows, oh, it didn't succeed because of this and this and that. Bank loans are not a good idea, but for you as a person, set your own boundaries. When the friends come, give what you can. Let him go to another friend. If he gets from 10 people and is able to do the business, fine. If he's able to present the business and do equity, that's great. But the point of that point is protect yourself, protect your relationships, and then avoid loans yourself. Then I was talking about risks. In certain cases, people come to you with bright ideas, risky ideas that you find that you have to spend quite some money on. One of the advices I've learned over the times is to evaluate ideas thoroughly and minimize your risks. Sometimes our greed overwhelms us and covers our eyes to our need. What do I mean by that? The truth is, sometimes money is given to us for a particular purpose by God. He makes ways and there are avenues, and money is coming to us. And then something happens, somebody comes along with a bright idea, but it was not an idea you planned for. It's an idea that came from an external party. What you should do is to evaluate it thoroughly. If you have already put your money into one risky venture, let it be that, okay, yes, I have this risk, let me manage this, let me calculate in a calculated manner. But when you are all the time putting money in risks and then ignoring your needs, what has happened is that your greed for more money is blinding your eyes to your current needs. It could be the needs of your family. It could be basic needs like, let me give context. It may be that you haven't qualified in certain areas of your career. You haven't attained certain levels of education. You haven't built a house. You haven't taken care of your parents in a consistent manner. There are certain basic needs that surround you. But those offers of risky businesses come along, and you allow the greed for more money to blind your eyes to those needs that are present with you. And what happens is that you now find yourself putting money in certain places at the expense of the real needs of your life. I hope we just need to balance that risk. Balance the risk that we're taking so that we don't find ourselves blinded by our greed. Number 7, save. Everybody talks about this, but a few people take deliberate action in that direction. Everybody talks about saving. but few people take action around it. And it's not an issue of how much money you're earning. Paul Mante said this. It's an issue of how much discipline you have. It's an issue of how much discipline we have. Our level of discipline will determine whether we can build wealth over time. It's not our level of income. Paul Mante said that he did an experiment in a certain program where he was at, and he asked whether those who think that their money is not sufficient, those who think that their money is not sufficient, and everybody raised their hands. Then he asked the question, for 10 volunteers to come out and tell the crowd what they were earning. And when they did that, we discovered that in the spectrum of income, we had one at the bottom who probably was maybe earning 10 times less than the one at the top. And yet all of them thought that they were not earning enough to invest properly, or that they were not earning enough to cover their needs. So the problem is not always what we are earning, but sometimes the problem is how disciplined we are in taking out 20% or 10% of our earnings and putting it away in an account or an investment or something that is for the rainy day. It's a discipline we need to develop. When you suddenly start earning more money, or when you have a windfall, that is not the time to increase your eating. That is the time to prepare for the time when that windfall will no longer be there. Some of us are single and we find ourselves at some point we'll get married, we'll start a family, and we'll start having to take care of people. The time we're single is the time we have to kind of like build up for that married life. Do you save or invest? That is a question from Matthew again. Savings is simply putting away money. Investing is simply putting money into something that grows it much more than savings. You have investment options in the money market, whether sometimes investment can be used to even refer to putting money in real estate or starting a business. So investment is it's not just keeping the money away, but really working the money so that it reproduces money for you. So typically, Paul Mante's approach is you develop a habit of saving until you have a significant portion of your money that is enough for you to do an investment that will really yield. And there are risky investments like the stock market, like Bitcoin, and there are also moderately safe investments like the T-bills. And there are investment companies that are genuine, and there are those that are fake, those that can easily collapse, and those that are Ponzi schemes that will not last long. So you just need to do your research properly. But the relationship, one of the key relationships between savings and investment is that you save for a while, you build up enough capacity to do a meaningful investment. So that is the relationship. So that's what I was talking about, saving. So it's a practice that you have to build up, a discipline. Even if you're earning 1 cedi, 1 naira, find a way, an account that, if possible, take away the card. Put a small amount of money into that account for a while until you build it up enough for you to say, this is now 1,000 cedis, 5,000 cedis, 500,000 naira that I can take to an investment company and say I'm going to earn some reasonable amount from it. I hope I did some justice to that question. All right, let's go into more trickier areas because I'm a Christian. I come from a Christian background. Such matters as seed sowing. I want to say that, like I said at the beginning, I'm not an expert at this. I'm just sharing experiences, and I want people to be able to also think through with me. The purpose of Christianity is not to make money. The purpose of coming to church is not to become a millionaire. God promises to meet our needs, and He gives us wisdom to meet our needs. He gives us wisdom to handle our affairs and to be able to grow wealth. And he is happy, he's pleased with us growing in wealth. But at the same time, we must distinguish going into a relationship with Christ for the purpose of making money, and actually living our lives to be productive enough to earn money. Now, let me give you a verse. I think it's 1 Timothy 6, verse 17. It says, command those who are rich in this world to share all good things with those who are less fortunate. And the Bible talks about the fact that with such sacrifices, God is pleased. So, if you look carefully at the New Testament, even James's reference to rich and poor people, it doesn't give the impression that once you're a Christian, you are supposed to automatically or somehow become rich. There will be those who will be in need. So there are certain practices that we have in the charismatic churches that make people believe that if you're able to give faithfully, you will become rich. Not necessarily. God will supply your needs, but rich is a relative term. What do you mean by rich? God promised to supply our needs. He says, do not worry about what you shall eat, what you shall drink, what you shall wear. That the Gentiles seek these things. Seek first the kingdom, and all these things will be added to you. He's talking about he's able to meet these things, which are your needs. But when we begin to get bogged down with the fact that if I take my first year salary and put the money, I will never lack in my life. That is not if the practice, the unfolding of things in our lives shows us that is not necessarily the truth. The experiences of someone like Paul said, look, I know how to abound, I know how to be abased, I can do all things. That is the context of that statement. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That means he has learned how to survive with small amounts of income. He has learned how to survive with large amounts of income. And then he summarizes it by saying, I can do all things. The ability to do all things means the wisdom to be able to survive, whether we lose our jobs or we don't lose our jobs. Whether we have a lot of money or we don't have a lot of money. So we don't go giving away our money in church with the thought that somehow it will keep multiplying. If that concept was correct, what you have to do is to go to a village and prove it. Start with 1 cedi or 1 naira. Then keep doubling it. When we see that, if it doubles every day, over the course of 1 year, you probably start earning hundreds of thousands. But that's not how it works. That's not how the supply of God works. It's not a money doubling thing. God responds to you in mysterious ways. Some things happen and they are just amazing supplies. But you shouldn't think that you can work God like that, like some machine that doubles money. So we need to be careful how we relate with Christianity in terms of money. When God gives you the opportunity to make money, not all of it is for church. Not all of it. So we need to be aware of that. All right, I've done about 30 minutes. This number 9. When I mention the issue of loans and gifts, I don't want you to get the impression that I'm saying don't help people. Jesus said that you will always have the poor among you. That means there will always be people, no matter how much motivational speech you do, they are not able to earn as much as you are earning. Our job is to help them. That's the truth. Some people are given more talents than others. Some people are given more opportunities than others. Some people are given certain giftings that give them the capacity to earn a lot of money. That's what it means when command those who are rich in this world to share all good things with those who do not have. When you are given that opportunity, when you have capacity to do something, you can start it. Not everybody can start a business. You can start a business. You can rise through the ranks. You can earn a lot of money. Part of your job on this planet is to find people who are not able to earn so much and help them. So, but like I said before, budget the help. Find people you can help and help them. And help them when the Bible says he who gives to the poor lends to the Lord. That means when you help them, don't let it not become a burden. If our help to people is becoming burdensome in our hearts, then it's not really something that God might be pleased with. Have a budget for helping people. If you have capacity to earn more money, explore the opportunity. Not just because earning more money is not just for yourself, not just for your family alone. There are people that also will need. There are people that will need the capacity you have to earn money. All right. So, number 10. I have 2 more after this. Number 10, give to God. Now, listen carefully. There is a difference between God and church. It's very important that we catch that. And forgive me if I sound controversial, but there is a difference between God and church. Don't be under any pressure by any person to release large amounts of money in the name of pleasing God. When Paul spoke to the Corinthians about giving in 2 Corinthians 8 and 9, he said, let each person plan what he is going to give within the week and bring it on the first day of the week. That means your giving is supposed to be budgeted, not constrained. Don't give under duress. Giving God, it should be from your heart. Budget it. Give what you are comfortable and satisfied that this is what I can do for God in church, to the homeless, to people that need it, in support of the gospel movement, whatever it is. But the point is, let it be genuine, big from your heart that you're giving, not a pressure on your finances. Okay. So I want to talk a bit about the reason why we give. Some people say, oh, all these pastors are collecting our money. That's not the point. If you're in a relationship with God, you realize that, like I said, money is a symbol that represents the sweat you have done for the month, for the year, for the weeks. It represents your sweat. It represents your person. When you give a portion of it to God, is a sign, a symbol that you are, telling God that my life belongs to you. That's what you're essentially saying. So that is part of the reason why we have to separate some part of our money and give it to God. If we can sacrifice more, that's great. But make sure it is to God and not in response to pressure from another human being. Number 11. I talked about what do we buy with our money? What do we buy with our money? Robert Kiyosaki made strong points about making sure that we are buying assets. An asset is something that reproduces value to you. And an asset is something each person probably has to evaluate himself. For some people, a car is not an asset because it keeps depleting their resources. It keeps taking away money in terms of fuel maintenance. A car may not be an asset. A Porsche car may not be an asset. Sometimes a house may not even be an asset. You think it's real estate. He described a situation where you have a house and you are living in the house and the cost of maintaining the house is draining you. Meanwhile, you can actually rent, and then maybe if it's the car is out of town, the cost of coming to work is also draining you. Meanwhile, you can live in a smaller apartment, rent out the house, and the house becomes an asset because it's generating money. So the orientation he wants us to have is for us to think more about how can the money, what I'm going to buy, of what real value is it to me? Excuse me. Is it of real value? Or is it just going to drain me more? So we need to think about that every time we need to buy something. Every time we need to buy something, ask yourself, is it an asset or is it a liability? Am I buying something that will take more money from me? Or am I buying something that will help me earn more money? Very important. Then do not assume that you will become a millionaire just because you know everything about money. Contentment is powerful and it can help us live more productive lives as we go along. Don't be so obsessed with becoming a millionaire that you begin to do things that deviate from correct conduct, that deviate from sound values. Don't be so obsessed with accumulate. I mean, you need to ask yourself, if I accumulate $10 million now, so what? What use is it going to be? We have to have a bigger picture of life beyond the accumulation of the wealth in itself. Remember, I started by saying money is just representative of value. So if there's no value in it, if it's just a matter of accumulating wealth and storing it up somewhere. Okay, I want to be a millionaire. I want to be on Forbes rich list. For what? Why? You need to answer those purpose questions as well. Finally, are there things we can achieve without physical cash, without money? We need to think about that too. Money is a representative of value. If you can exchange value in some other way, then we don't have to be so crazy about accumulating paper money. I wrote about this in an article some time ago, and I said, after COVID-19, the period that we are in now, what is probably going to happen is that a lot of people may find themselves in a little bit of an uncomfortable situation financially. What you would now have is assets like what you know, what you can do, your skills, business you have, a land you have, some property or something. And it may be necessary for some people to exchange another kind of value for the value that they have. You can say that, look, I can help you organize your accounting. You see somebody who wants to open a farm. I say, I can help you organize your accounting if you can give me food, give me a supply of food every week. Nobody exchanges cash, but they have been able to exchange value. So those are things we need to think about. Money merely represents value. If you can find ways in periods when there is not enough money, if you can find ways to exchange the value directly, then it makes sense. And it becomes a wisdom that you have. All right, so I've tried to share about 12 points of what I think about money. Maybe I've not exhausted everything. If you have any thoughts in the next 5 minutes, you can drop it in the comments. Any questions you want us to discuss further, anything I said that seemed unclear or untrue, you can help us again talk about it. In the meantime, a lot of the ideas I've talked about come from this book, If I Were to Live Again, where I highlighted certain aspects of my life and shared with the world. It's available on Amazon. It's also available around me in physical copies in some bookshops. So if you've not got it, you should have some. You should have your copy, and you should think through with me on the words. One of the key points of the book that I shared in this book is where we have erred as fathers, where we have erred in our own lives, we can help our children to do better, whether it's in the area of money or in some other areas of life. We can help our children to do better if we have much more time. So thank you very much for being with me today. I have to close it up. It's been about 50 minutes. That's a long time on the internet these days. So if you like what you heard, please share it. If you have more questions, do well to drop them in the comments. And keep in touch. Stay safe. And think about what will happen after this period is over. Okay, question here. As young people, please, how do we manage family ties who probably deliberately guilt trip you into giving money you wouldn't give to a stranger? Yeah, that is a reality we have to face in Africa, especially in view of the fact that we have a culture of extended families. We have a culture of extended families. But I want to say that as much as this might sound hard to swallow, your money is still your money. And let me tell you, somebody, me and a friend of mine and I were discussing something some time ago, I think it was last year. And he said that, look, assuming you keep giving away all your money for 30 years, at the end of 30 years, maybe you lose your job or you retire, and you go back to your village, it is the same people who were asking you for money all those years that will say, was he not able to build a house? All the years he worked, he didn't build a house. Oh, all the years he worked, he didn't send his children to school. Oh, why? How? The same people. So you have to have wisdom in the way you deal with them. Have a budget. Personally, as for continuous support, focus continuous support on your parents and maybe your wife's parents. For other people, it can be based on need, and based on need that is budgeted. That is it. That is reality. You have to contain yourself properly so that you'll be able to do things that will even benefit them in the long run. Don't let your children suffer in the future, and don't let things you ought to do over the course of 20 years, then when 20 years passes, you are now surprised you haven't done them because you have, given away all your money. Don't let anybody push you into guilt. Be comfortable with what you're doing. Budget for your extended family. And you shouldn't be supporting anyone in your extended family continuously, except your parents and maybe spouse's parents. That is my personal principle. When it comes to continuous monthly support, focus on your parents who can take care of themselves now, or for a period. Maybe you have a sibling who needs to complete his school. That's clear. But after that, each person should be able to come up enough to be able to take care of themselves. So that's my thoughts on that. Those family ties, once you start earning money, have a budget. Support your parents. Every other person, let it be based strictly on need and what you can comfortably part with. That's what I think. Okay? All right. 53 minutes. We'll just round off in about 5 minutes or so. Okay. All right, Eric, Matthew, Eben, Chinenye, thank you so much for joining up at some point or the other during the session. I appreciate you. God bless you, and do your best to use the thoughts. Thank you, Eric. You're welcome, and do share and do give feedback. If I said something out of place, it's good to keep the discussion going. All right, so I have to end it now. Once again, all from this book. Do well to get yours and let me know what you think. Have a nice night and bye.